Welcome to your first Comic-Con,
Well,
Benedict.
thank you.
Comic-Con is really about celebrating everything fanish, and I
Yeah.
wonder if there's anything that you are sort of unashamedly fanish about.
Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, very much. I love that show. True Detective. I've got a lot of other things that I'm kind of logging up, just waiting to really get into, like Game of Thrones and a huge series that I've yet to kind of properly devote time to. But yeah, those would be my first two out the door, definitely.
What was it like for you having the Hall H experience where you walk in and
It's fantastic.
meet
It's
the public?
huge. It's just that whole wave of very positive, enthusiastic fandom, and it was fun. It was fun, and it's just. I've done it before. I did it a couple of times in Australia, and what was really nice about that, very selfishly, was it was just me in conversation with my fans. So it was just it was like controlling the room, but also them being in control of me. It was just a two-way thing. It was me on. It was called the panel, and it was me on my own in a chair like this with a microphone, and that was great because it was. That's what I like about it is being able to have a proper bit of, you know, not necessarily delivering a message about a film, but really just being able to communicate with fans about anything. And that's a really rare thing in this industry. So that's the thing that appeals to me the most about it.
that direct exchange?
Yeah, and there was a bit of that today, but yeah, I would have always loved more questions from the floor. That's the thing.
You're here for Penguins of Madagascar,
I am.
which is an animated movie where you voice a wolf who looks like he's the brains of the operation.
He looks like
Have I got it just about right?
Kind of, pretty much. Well, the Eva, the owl, is obviously intelligence, but yeah, he is. He's the leader at least. He's the alpha wolf of the pack, so to speak, and does things in a polar opposite, pun intended, way to the penguins.
I notice you're always or often playing really smart guys.
Yeah.
Sherlock, Julian Assange,
Yeah.
Alan Turing in this
Yes,
movie coming up,
yes,
the
it's
famous
imitation
code breaker.
game, yeah.
And I wonder, do you have sort of a go-to, I'm a genius thinking
Smart
really
face.
hard face? Yeah, smart
yeah,
face.
definitely, yeah.
Can you show us the smart face? Oh.
No, I mean, you know, it changes. It's about the character, and I think I've been very, very fortunate that there's something going on behind my eyes, so that it looks like I'm thinking about or understanding or encompassing the brilliance of their minds and ability to concentrate on whatever it is that they're doing. But you know, I have a very superficial, sort of skin-thin kind of understanding of the science of code breaking and algorithms, in the sense of what Julian Assange, for example, did, and obviously Alan Turing. And beyond that, I played Stephen Hawking as a young man in a drama about his life. And again, you know, like most people, I have the book, but I haven't read it, or I have, but I haven't understood half of it. And it's just about finding the humanity in all of that. And brilliant people have private moments of self-doubt and things which we could all kind of relate to, but they also have these extraordinary moments of discovery or pioneering brilliance that pushes the envelope on how we view the world or understand it. And those are dramatic moments in culture, whether it's real or dramatized. And obviously in a well-written drama, it's a very specific focus point. So yeah, I try not to pull I try not to pull faces. If I do, it has to be something to do with the character. But yeah.
Darn, so you're not really just thinking about what you're having for lunch.
Yeah,
you actually are.
exactly. Yeah, why did I eat that cheeseburger? I should have stuck to the salad. Yeah, but we do. I mean, yeah, actors often have that kind of a feeling, because especially on stage, you're kind of struggling through the weirdness of your day, and you're doing the play for the umpteenth time in a long run. That's very often something you kind of, your mind drifts. And you think, I forgot to buy the cheese in the supermarket, you know, and you have to be careful of those mundanities creeping in, because it can play havoc with your concentration.
Speaking of being on stage, you're going to be playing Hamlet in London next year. That's a very big deal. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
What does that particular role mean to you?
A lot. I mean, it's something that's been in my life for a long time. I was offered it at school and turned it down to do my A-levels, try and get some decent grades, and been doing Shakespeare since I was 8, you know, for a long, long time. My first professional engagements were 4 plays back to back and 2 seasons at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. And I was brought up in a culture, especially at Harrow School, which really celebrated Shakespeare. We had a mock Elizabethan stage. We had a fantastic, extraordinary Elizabethan scholar who was our teacher and mentor and director. And he'd often give us line readings, but it was a way to open a 13-year-old's eyes to read Elizabethan blank verse like prose, like modern fiction, and just bring it alive. It seems so sort of prohibitively of another era to some people. Even for me, when I'm sat in an audience for the first 5 minutes of a play, I very often have to just sort of tune into it. But the gift my teacher Jeremy Lemmer gave me was to be able to then, just be able to pick it up at random and get into it. So contact with that, but the actual play itself, I've seen very many productions of, and just I'm of an age now where I think it's sort of now or never, and I found the right director who was really enthusiastic about doing the play with me. This brilliant female director called Lindsay Turner, who's just a phenomenon. I think she's the greatest director of her generation. I'll be that bold, and she's a good friend, and she's a great collaborator, and we've been talking about it for over a year already. We don't even start rehearsals until next June, so it means a lot to me. Very excited about it. It's interesting, I think most actors, it appeals to them initially because it feels like an everyman part, which it is to an extent. You have to bring a lot of yourself to it, which really appeals. I've been playing quite a wide range of characters, I guess, character traits and eccentricities, differences to me, alternate realities and ways of being, and this is something that can be brought back more to who I am, how I sound and move, and that appeals. But what I'm really continually finding out as we investigate the play is how much of an actor he is. I think that's the real appeal. He, from the beginning of the play, he doesn't seem to want to be in the play. He wants to get out and go back to university, and his stepfather and his mother, or his uncle stepfather and his mother, drag him back into courtly life and being the prince and putting on that face of suffering it. And then the other appeal is the amount of direct communication you have with your audience with Hamlet. There's just such a large portion of it where you become very intimate. Both, it's a great exchange. He should be funny. You should care about him though a lot, but he should make you laugh as well as feel things. And he has, as a lot of Shakespeare's characters do, great characters have wonderful insights into human nature and certain problems with the human condition, and whether it's depression or anxiety or the idea of not being able to do something, of being inactive and of being powerless, and how to treat that with humour, self-laceration, anger and action, and then this incredible journey to a point where he's just calm, where there's this very Buddhist let-be quality to an acceptance really of fate. It's a wonderful, wonderful journey to map out, and beautiful language, and it's still a gripping story, I think, and if I can bring a new audience to it, that means a lot to me as well. It's a serious piece of theatre, but it's also something I think that's highly accessible for young adults, teenagers, people of all ages, as well as adults of other generations who have seen many productions. So hopefully it'll be something new for everyone.
One thing that's interesting is Hamlet is a role, obviously, that many actors have played. Sherlock is also a role that many actors have played. Yeah. What do you think it is about that character, Sherlock, that has resonated for so many different generations?
Well, he's the original, he's the kind of blueprint for all detectives. He is the one and only and greatest consulting detective. So this idea of the ability to be able to analyze a situation and come to a conclusion, this incredible mental agility he has through hard work and application is something that's also humanly obtainable. He's not superhuman. There's no trickery to it. I mean, some of the plot point to some of the deductions stretch credulity a little bit, but it's something if you worked hard enough at, you could actually do yourself. He doesn't fly around in a cape or use a sonic screwdriver or any kind of superpower or harness nature's forces and blast it at a baddie. It's about being smart. It's about making decisions based on information and accumulating that through knowledge and experience. And I think that appeals. And there's just a thrill. Everywhere you go with him, the mundane turns into a potential adventure. Every detail can lead to a narrative and this sort of explosion of ideas and plot. And I think that's the appeal for audiences. And in our version, in the 21st century, he's someone who, he has to think and work at the speed of multimedia and modern forensic science. And being an original and always a modern man in his time in the original inception of the stories, he was the first to sort of go about, casting footprints or analysing cigarette ash into concrete evidence of someone's guilt or implication in their crime, you know, them being part of a crime. So I think all of these things, they're not tricks, they're hard-learnt skills, and that in our version has to be sort of ramped up to another degree. And also you get to see a guy who's just slightly on the edge of being different, and he's a hero for people who feel that they are slightly different or maybe slightly on the edge of society, and that's been a huge appeal in a modern sense. And to see him using the interface of media, but not social media, I think he abhors that, but science and means of communication to deduce and solve you know, the crimes and capture and yeah, do his job with the criminals is really satisfying. It's brought him, as he was already, a modern man of the 20th century into the 21st. So yeah, I think that's the general appeal of him, but also our specific version is something that's very relatable, you know, for its audience.
Last question, you can walk the halls of Comic-Con dressed as anyone you want.
Yeah.
No one would recognize you.
John Malkovich.
John Malkovich.
Yeah, I think just everyone should walk the comedy. You know, I mean, he's here, so why isn't everyone wearing Malkovich?
Good
masks?
idea.
We've seen the film, right?
Let's all be John Malkovich.
Let's Spike Jones it.
Sounds good.
I'm up for that.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you so much,
Nice
Benedict.
to meet you. Thank you
Lovely
very much.
meeting you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.